Everyone, Zeddy here with another card review. We're going over the last of the neutrals revealed from the latest mini set. I said I would wait to do all the class cards, but I'm sorry. There's Highlander cards, there's shenanigans. We'll have one more review later today, but we're gonna go over these. And of course, the giveaway going on, 3 mini sets out of my pocket. And to enter that giveaway, like and comment in the video, linked in the description below. Be subscribed to the channel if we hit 77K. By the time the mini set comes out, I will add a 4th mini set. So hit that sub button, make me go broke. So we have 4 more neutral cards to go over. And there's some really cool stuff in here, including this card is really sick. This Shale Spider, a 2-mana 3/2. It's a rare elemental. Again, neutral. Any class can play this. Battle Cry. If you played an elemental last turn, draw a card. And what has like elemental shaman been lacking in general is more good elementals card draw. And this does both of that, right? It's a, you know, it's a fine 2-mana 3/2, not amazing stats, but it draws a card. That's really solid. You can't really be upset about that. Obviously this only really goes into an elemental deck or a tribal deck that has like amalgams and stuff like that. But a really just solid card that we'll see, I think, certainly play in standard. Pause, wild is probably too slow. It's funny, a 2-mana 3/2, draw a card is probably too slow, but even a wild, you have like that 1-mana 1/2 neutral elemental that your next elemental this turn costs, or your next elemental you play, period, costs 1 less. And in standard, you have like Aqua Archivist, the 2-mana 2/2. You can just play this for 0 with that as well. There's lots of implications. Obviously, it's gonna probably find a home more in Shaman and Mage, but we're seeing some real elemental support, and I'm hoping that deck works out. Either class, because elementals has always been fun. Ever since like a Goro with like elemental Shaman, I've just always had a soft spot for those elemental decks. I don't think it's gonna blow anyone away. I'm not gonna give it any higher than like a 3 out of 5 in standard, 2 out of 5 in wild, because like, yeah, it's not gonna like win games. It's going into a deck that's not particularly great and needs a lot more help than just this card. But yeah, I'll give it a playable mark, although why is it not a beast? Oh wait, the second member of the very exclusive is called a spider, but isn't a beast club. I'll have to look up the other spider, unless somebody knows in the comments can let me know down below. Next, we have the one epic of the mini set. And traditionally, other than like we mentioned it before, mistake, the epics usually suck in mini sets. And what about this one? We have the Iridescent Golem, a 3-mana 4/3, another elemental, more elemental support. Death Rattle. Give each of your minions a random bonus. Oh my goodness, I bit my tongue. Bonus effect. What is a bonus effect? It's the same thing as like the one amalgam ban. The spark bots, where it can get like what? Divine Shield, it can get Reborn, Rush, Lifesteal, Taunt, Stealth, Wind Fury, and probably one other thing I can't remember. I know there's 8 of them, and that can be it's gonna be at random to what other minions are on the board, right? So as you know, just a card playing by itself, not great. It needs probably just hit like 1 or 2. You're probably pretty happy with the Death Rattle. And again, I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's even as good as the draw engine, just because it's so win more. But it is just another elemental to fill into your elemental deck, and that can be lacking, right? It can be a bit of a struggle. I don't know if this makes it as like your 29th, 30th card in your deck, but it's not horrendous. It's just very win more, and typically win more cards are not that great unless it's like snowballing effect, where like you get it on the board and it's like immediately pretty good. Like the old school example being like Stormwind Champion, just giving you +1/+1, or a good old Raid Leader. It's a little bit win more, but it's good when you head on board. But this one, it's gotta die, you gotta have minions, but it doesn't have to be elemental minions. It can be any minion. It doesn't have to be an elemental deck. You can just play it in like a Death Rattle trigger style deck. It's out there. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5 in standard and wild. I don't see it making the cut, but it's a possibility, and the artwork is really cool. I like the purple and blue. All right, so we got that card out of the way. We got one more here, a Stone Drake, a new elemental dragon. Yeah, like they're all elementals and neutrals. 6-mana 2/8. It has Taunt, Divine Shield, and Lifesteal, and it cannot be targeted by spells or hero power. So this is like super annoying. Can get you some healing. If you buff it up, it can get you a lot of healing. The Divine Shield is really nice. This is going to be a nightmare in the arena. I can tell you that much. This is a really good pick in the arena. For ladder, it's quite slow, and the attack kind of kills it. Only 2 attack is not great. You really want to buff that up, possibly hand buffing. Other type of effects. I just feel like in ladder it'll be too slow, and like at that point at 6 mana you're running into like the board wipes, the Renos of the world, trial by fires, plenty of good AoE options to get rid of this rather easily. In Wild, it could get like Cabal Shadow Priest. You play this and they yoink it. That's like a throwback. That would feel terrible, but probably doesn't make the cut. Probably a really good like randomly generated elemental in certain situations. We'll take a look at that in a second. But overall, I don't think it makes the cut in terms of a constructed ladder playable card, but again, could get that fringe play. And if there's just like a good hand buff deck, like maybe just throw this as like a hand buff paladin. Again, you don't care about the tags, that's an elemental or dragon, you just hand buff it. That could be really annoying. That Divine Shield, lifesteal, like they can't target it. If this gets hand buffed at all, because 8 health is a lot, then you're looking for, then you're talking, right? So there's possibilities for it. I just think in the current meta, probably a bit too slow, but I wouldn't completely sleep on it. But again, I'll give it a 2 in both formats. It has a chance to pop up. I'm not saying it's a terrible card, just won't make that meta cut. And then lastly, we have another Highlander neutral legendary payoff card. The only one we have right now in standard is Reno Lone Ranger, and now we get Marut, the Stone Binder, a 7 mana 5/6 minion, so not great stats, of course. Battle Cry, if your deck has no duplicates, discover an elemental to summon, add the others to your hand. This is very reminiscent, if you watched our prior review like just a little bit ago, of the new Excavate Epic reward that does the same thing. So I could possibly discover, like, again, Neptulon, Ragnaros. If I'm playing Shaman, I could get a Walking Mountain, or I could be offered a mistake in like a 2/2 and some garbage, right? Like, it's guaranteed you're getting some board presence. You'll be able to pick on average, you'll probably get something decent, and then you get value in your hand for sure. You could just throw this into most Reno decks just for some extra value. But again, it's 7 mana, do nothing sometimes, depending on your discover options. And again, a card that absolutely does not need to be an elemental deck. You could say it's elemental support, but it's not an elemental itself. It's just giving you some elemental. So I wouldn't be too like blinded by like, oh, I gotta play this in a Reno elemental deck. No, it's just good value, possible scams, hitting a Neptulon. I'm pretty sure you could discover and summon Neptulon. It's only Titans you can't discover. I know you can't evolve into Colossals, but you should be able to discover them, unless they've made a rule for these cards. But still, that'd be pretty nuts. And you might want to take a look at like what classes don't have a lot of class elementals, and maybe more prone to play it there, where you're more likely to hit those big neutral targets you might want to get. Or again, even hitting that 6 mana taunt, you get a 5/6, right? Like you get a 5/6 and a 2/8 lifesteal taunt. Like that's really good if you hit even that type of thing. You don't have to get too crazy. So again, I don't think it's no Reno Lone Ranger broken insane auto include in every Highlander deck. It's going to really depend on what you're playing, but getting that extra value with the possible of like scams out there, I will give it a 3 out of 5. I think it sees play, bordering on a 4. Actually, I'll give it a 4. I'll be a little bit more nice. I'll probably be wrong as a result, but I'll give it a 4 out of 5 in standard. In Wild, value just doesn't matter. The elemental pool is so much larger that it's really not reliable to hit something good, I don't think. So I will give it a 2 in Wild, but I think in standard, where cards like this aren't nearly as prevalent, and some, especially rotation coming up, this will help like fill in your deck a lot more, as rotation will be making a lot of cards leave. So yeah, I think this sees a good amount of standard play. It's not auto include in every Reno deck, but certainly went out there. So those are the neutrals. There's like 2 different reveals of like dual class cards. I'll save that for one more video. We'll do 3 today, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.